Okay. Hola mes amours. Hola mes amours. Today is Sunday and I am meeting up with one of my YouTube subscribers and hopefully we become friends. Making friends as an adult is hard. Like honestly, especially like making friends as an adult in a new city, in a new country, completely different. So she reached out to me and she was like, hey, I'm also in Kinshasa, and I was like, say less, let's hang out, let's see what happens. So I'm actually gonna go meet up with her at Patisserie Nouvelle. I think I've brought you guys here before, but I'm super excited because I don't know, I love meeting people. I'm an extrovert and I love being out there, and I'm really hoping that we hit it off. And if she's okay with it, I'll introduce her to you guys. But yeah, this is what I'm doing. Okay, let's go.
Cheers! A new beginning. I know. So pretty.
Oh guys, it is a Monday in Kinshasa and I'm excited because I am going to meet up with a new potential friend. Guys, I'm making friends in the city. So yesterday got to Patisserie Nouvelle, hang out with my girl Magali. It was so good. She actually moved to the Congo as well about 6 months ago. That I had their poke bowl, which was absolutely gross. Like, the avocado was great. The salmon probably had died 15 days ago. It was so bad. And I think maybe the best thing is to not get poke bowl in Kinshasa. But I was like, oh, you know, we get fresh fish here, so I was expecting the salmon to be better, but oh my god, it was bad. I didn't even like do more than 2-3 spoons, but I just had some of their smoothies, and then Magali and I chatted for like hours. It was so refreshing. Sometimes I tell people, like, when you move and you move back home and literally your siblings are the only people, or your parents are the only people you talk to, it's like I was starved for communication with folks my age. So it was very, very refreshing. I'm gonna meet up today with Rachel. Oh my god, I'm so excited. And she also recently moved over from Montreal with her family, so I'm excited to just like meet people. And I'm kind of meeting people who are kind of like me, because I think it's better to start off with folks who are kind of going through the same thing you're going through. I do have 1 or 2 local friends, but like it's different for me to be like, oh my god, it's so hard, I can't do this, I can't do that, when all they know is what's here. So I'm really excited to be able to meet Rachel today, and to talk to somebody who was going through what I was going through. So today I'm heading to Soleil Lounge. Is it a lounge? It's a restaurant. It's a Mediterranean restaurant here in Kinshasa. Heading over and hopefully meeting up with Rachel, and we'll be grabbing some lunch. And I'll show you guys my outfit because it's pretty cute. I was like, it's Valentine's Day, throw in some pinks and some whites, why not? Let's be on theme. So I hope to show you guys a little bit more about today, and then we'll probably wrap up the day back at my home. All right, loves. Oh my god. Well, I clearly did not make it to the meeting I had with Rachel. I was so excited, as you guys saw, trying to get myself to like reach out to more people, make more connections. And guys, I was stopped by the police again. I don't know if you guys have seen my previous video on how I got arrested by the police here in Kinshasa, and this was literally the same place that I got stopped last time, and with one of the exact same cops. So honestly, for me, that if you haven't seen that video, you should probably go and see it so you get a little bit more context here. But it was the most traumatizing thing that has happened to me in the city. I've never been arrested in my life before. I've lived on 3 different continents. Like, I've never been in trouble with the law. And then for this to have happened, like, honestly, it shook me to my core. So like, it made me a very hypersensitive driver. Like, I do not interact with the police when I'm driving. I do not make eye contact. Like, I got to the point where I was like extremely paranoid when I was driving in Kinshasa. And so for me to get stopped by the cops again, like, my heart had already sank. Like, I had already come to the decision that I was going to get arrested again, and I was just on my guard. I was like very I don't want to say like aggressive, but I was very much like, okay, just tell me what I did, like, tell me where we need to go. So then the cops were like, oh no, we're coming to you because you did something wrong, and like, we shouldn't have like a harsh back and forth. And I was like, no, I'm not trying to be harsh. I just want to understand like what the issue is. And so I say to them, so what is the issue? And they're like, oh no, the police over there had stopped you, but you didn't stop. And I'm like, no, they didn't, because I'm in a middle lane. How would I have been stopped by a policeman if he wasn't in the middle of the road? Like right in front of me, and he's directing all of traffic, and I'm looking at how he's doing his hands, and his hands are not up, blocking people coming from this side. I'm already like you're stopping me in the middle of the road, so you can clearly see that like I'm already engaged in the road. So how did you want me to stop in the middle of highway? Like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh no, you were stopped and you didn't stop. And I'm like, that's not true, because you're stopping me in the middle of the road. So if he had stopped everybody, then everybody would not have been in the middle of the road, which we all are. And so he's like, oh, I need to see your document. And literally at this point, like, one cop goes in front of the car and one is talking to me through the window. And so I'm like, listen, here is my license, here are the papers for the car. And he was like, okay, everything looks in order. Okay, so now we have to take you to the headquarters. I'm like, fine, let's go. Because like, again, like last time, like, I didn't do anything wrong, and I know that I didn't. So then he gets in the car, and the one in front of the car actually gets into the back seat. And I'm like, okay, so where are we going? Is it the same place as last time? And he looks at me and he's like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, you're the same person who arrested me last time. Do you want me to take us to the same place? And he's like, oh, yeah, you know, you committed an infraction, so we gotta go. And I was like, that's fine. Oh, actually, before they got in the car, the guy who was standing by the window is like, I mean, if we could have a conversation about this, maybe you could give us some water. And water in Congolese is like code for a bribe. And so they're like, oh, my mama, my. And I'm like, listen, I have all of 1,000 Congolese francs, which is less than $1, but you can get water for that. So I literally said to him, like, if you want me to get you water, I can absolutely get you water. It's like 350 francs. And I had 1,000. I'm like, I can get both of you. Like, I'm raining water money. And then they're like, oh, no, if only $1,000 Swiss francs. I mean, it's not Swiss francs. 1,000 Congolese francs, that's all you think you can give us? No, we're getting in the car. And so they got in the car, and they got in the car like all aggressive and upset because I wasn't like willing to give them any US dollars, because I'm like, I'm about to go and spend my US dollars at this lunch I'm having with Rachel. I'm not going to give you money. So I'm like, this is the only Congolese money I have, and this is all I'm willing to give. And so they get upset, and then he gets in the car, and I'm like, oh, so do you want us to take us to the same place? And that's when he was like, oh, it's you again. I'm like, yeah, you've done this to me before. And that's what I said to him. And he's like, oh no, I didn't do anything. You're the one who's committed an infraction. I'm like, so then why are you asking for water? If it's water you want me to give you, I can buy you the water, but I'm not paying a bribe for something I haven't done. Oh, fine, then we have to go to the boss. We have to go. I said, no problem. Just is it the same place? He's like, yeah. Okay, so turn right here, turn left here. So now we're going through, like, if you can imagine it, like a really thin alley. It's like a one-way pretty much, but people use it as a two-way. But in this case, I'm the only one going up. So I literally open up my purse because they tell me to stop again. I'm like, I literally do not have money to give you. I have a $20 bill that I'm going for this meeting with, and that's it. And this $1,000, that's all I have to give you. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't show them your purse, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, when you are literally in a position with somebody who is like, I am the person in power and I'm going to make your life miserable. I was like, listen, you want me to go to the chief? Sure, let's go to the chief. Like, I don't freaking care. But you want to ask me for money? I'm telling you, I do not have money for you. This is literally all you're going to get from me is $1,000. So he's like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. I said, okay, fine. You want to take $10 off of this 20? Listen, I'm just trying to get through with my day. Oh no, 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 no. I said, that's all. So as I had stopped the car and I'm going back and forth with them, the people who sell food along the alleyway had seen me literally like saying to these people like, what do you want from me? You know? And so they'd seen me getting super frustrated. So what they did was they went and they signaled the chief who was in his office, probably like at the end of the lane, and they had signaled him and they were like, hey, the cops are harassing this woman. She's like driving a Jeep. Just go in and see what's happening. And so the chief actually jumps onto his motorbike. And when he jumps onto his motorbike, the cops that were in the car actually saw him. So I don't know what the hell it looks like. So automatically they panic and they're like, reverse, reverse, reverse. And I'm just like, wait, now you want me to reverse? Like, you want money? You want me to reverse? Are we not going to your chief? And they're like, no, 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 just reverse, just reverse. And so now they're freaking out. And I'm now like starting to back up because I'm like, what is happening? So then I like stop. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, are we going to the chief or not? And then all of a sudden, like this man on his motorbike, like goes around the car. And he heads to the window where one of the cops was sitting. And now what happened is both of those cops like ducked. Now this is where it's like super surreal to me because I'm like, what the hell is happening? Like, I was driving these people to the police station. Then they're like, oh no, we want you to back up. And then I'm like, why? And so I stopped my car and I'm like, no, what are we doing here? And then they duck. And then the cop who was on the motorbike like rounds up to the side of my window and to the passenger side. And he's like, could you take the window down? And I'm like, what's the problem? And he's like, he looks at me and he's like, Madame, I'm so sorry. I've heard that you're having a couple of problems. Just hold on. And he looks at the cops in the car and he starts insulting them. He's like, what do you think you're doing? This is a citizen. And they're like, you're going to have to follow me to this police station. And I'm just like, wait, what's happening? And he's like, I'm so sorry. I was in my office and I got called out because the people who were selling along the road saw you going back and forth with the policeman and they told me to come and check it out. So I would really like us to go to the headquarters of this area so that we can have this conversation there. And I'm just like, happy say less, because I was trying to come to you anyway. So I said to the man, I don't know where these headquarters are, but I can follow you. And so he's like, okay, that's fine. So he's on his motorbike. I'm following him. Guys, this was like a 15-minute drive. And every single one of those minutes, those two cops went from like, oh, this is your fault. I can't wait to tell them about how you've broken the law. And then they went to, oh my God, this guy is a really bad policeman. Like, he's a really bad guy. You shouldn't trust him. And then they changed again to, okay, so you can just take a right here. And then we don't have to follow him anymore. And then they changed to, why don't you honk at him and just tell him we want to talk to him. So I'm honking at this guy on, so their boss on the motorcycle. And he like pulls up to my window and he's like, what's happening? And I'm like, they want to talk to you. And so the cops in the car are like, oh, please, boss, we don't have to do it like this. Please, let's not do it like this. And then the boss is like, can you shut up? And he looks at me and he's like, please make sure you've locked your doors and roll up your windows. These men should not leave your car. Now I'm like, what kind of Twilight Zone am I now the popo? Am I now your transport? So I'm like, my doors are locked. I roll up all the windows. And the whole way through, these men are like, oh, you see, this is your fault. You shouldn't have gone through this in the first place. You see, you're the one who wanted to give us a bribe. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're the ones who are asking me for my... Then I said, you know what? I'm not having any conversation with you until we get to the police station. They're like, you see, you're such a bad woman. You should have just pull up over here. I'm like, your boss has said we follow him. He is over you guys. They're like, oh, I'm the one holding your documents. You don't want to have your documents? I'm like, you can threaten me all you want. I'm going to follow this man because he's your boss. Okay, so now they're like harassing me in the car and they're talking about like, oh, you're a bad woman. Like, you shouldn't be following him. He's a really bad cop. And I'm just like, all I know is that this man is your boss and he has said we need to drive and follow him. That's what I'm doing. I'm not having any other conversations with you because you guys are trying to get me into trouble and I'm not doing this. And I keep quiet and like, I'm like done talking. So then they're now talking amongst themselves and they're like, okay, this is what we're going to say. We're going to say that she committed an infraction and she was trying to bribe us. And that's where he saw us. We literally pull up at this location and they come out of the car and they're all like, you see, you're the one who committed an infraction. Now they're telling me this and they're yelling it. And I'm just like, what is happening? And their boss comes out and he's like, can you shut up? And then they both go quiet and we walk into this office and there's, I guess, all their boss, like the chief is now seated in his chair and he's like, what is going on here? And they're like, oh, ma'am, we're so sorry about this. Please take a seat. And I sit down and I say to them, I'm like, can I get my documents back? Because he's refusing to give me my documents back. And so they're like, can you give her papers back? So I get my license back, I get the car papers back. And then the chief is like, ma'am, if you don't mind explaining like what happened. So I tell them the story. I'm like, guys, I was pretty much like minding my business and these people randomly stopped me in the middle of the highway, like in the middle of the road. It's not like I wasn't like in the right lane or signaling. Like I was literally driving and they just stood in front of my car and they were like, oh no, what happened? So then what happened after that? And I'm like, I told them, show me. They told me, oh no, we have cameras that can show that you were in the wrong. I said, show me the cameras. Now the boss who we walked into his office and the chief that was on the motorbike, like look at each other and they're just like clearly there are no cameras, like literally clearly there are no cameras. It was just like a BS move on their part, like trying to scare me. And I was like, I said to them, show me the cameras and show me where it is that I did wrong, and then I will go through with the consequences. But if you can't show me what I've done wrong, now you're just stopping me for no reason. And they were like, okay, no, we totally understand that. And then what happened? And then I'm like, no, then he came to the side of my window. I tried explaining myself and he kept saying that I did something wrong. So I said, let's go to the chief. And then once I said that to him, he said, oh, maybe we can talk about water and my. And I was like, I told him I only have $1,000 for water, and that's what I said. And then their boss, the chief goes, he said, what? So he asked you. And I'm like, yes, why would I be just randomly giving people money when I know I haven't done anything wrong? And he's like, and also like, why would I be heading to the police station if I was, paying people off? Wouldn't I have just given him the money and then driven off on the highway? And he's like, okay. And then what happened? And all of a sudden, like these two policemen like, no, she's the one who offered us the money. She's the one who wanted to give us the money. And then both of the chiefs are like, can you shut up? And I was just like, oh my God, for the first time, like somebody's actually listening to me. And guys, I was like, Vinji, you're gonna keep it together because you cannot burst out here and start crying because I'll be like, oh, here goes the emotional woman again. And then I was like, okay, fine. This is what happened. I told them about the bribe and I said they refused to take $1,000 because I literally told them I can buy the water for you. If it's water you're looking for, it's a hot day in Kinshasa, I have no problem doing that. And they were like, oh no, we're going to the chief, blah, blah, blah. I said, let's go. I have nothing but time. Let's go. And then that's when the guy found us driving into the place and he's like, what? So you are the policemen who are making us have a bad reputation. Ma'am, we are so sorry that you've had to go through this today. Y'all, when that man apologized, like even to this moment, it was, like when you feel vindicated about something, like it was literally like everything. And he didn't even need to be like, oh, we're gonna make sure blah blah blah. Like the fact that he just like gave this apology completely like had me in tears, and not like in tears in front of them. I just had like tears in my eyes, and I was like, you don't understand. This is the first time the police has ever helped me. And they were like, we're so sorry that that has been your experience, but like we're trying to crack down on like bad apples like these guys and bad actors like these guys. So please take your documents, you're free to go. Thank you so much for like cooperating and working with us to catch these guys. And like those guys were literally like arrested. So the police arrested the police today, and there is some justice in Kinshasa. I know it's like a tough city to live in, and I haven't had like much joy here, but this was a really good day. It was a good opportunity to like be in this place and like actually have a good testimony of it.